So we are live here, and I am looking for evidence that someone out there can see and hear me virtually. That would be so nice if someone could say hi and let me know that. That would be great. But we're live and it's out there, so even if no one does say hello, I can see and hear you. It's out there. You can watch anytime. So I am here. We have a strong and sturdy bunch of people here who are knowing the truth. We are counting our blessings. Good morning, David and Angela. Okay, and Margit, hello. Okay, so you three, David, Angela, and Margit, win extra special spiritual mind treatment work done by me. Just let me know for what you would like me to do that, and I will do it. So that's it. Glad you're here. And so it's time to begin. All right. This word is being spoken for each one. And if there is anyone else or any place on this planet that you would like to have included, any group of people that you would like to have included, just think of their name now and know that the infinite mind knows them and is already creating with them, for them, in them, as them. And so it absolutely will create for them, as well as each one of us, that truth which I speak. Good. Let God do what God does. There is a God that does what it does. And what it does is create this entire universe and everything in it. It creates it by, first of all, contemplating itself, knowing that it is perfect, whole, and complete. And so every idea that occurs to the divine mind in how it can express itself has in that idea the template of perfection, wholeness, and completeness. This is from which all forms are made. In this infinite mind, in creating a human being, it has a perfect template of a human being. Perfect, whole, and complete. One divine ideal pattern from which each one is particularizing. And so this divine pattern is still present, regardless of what one person might believe about it, and certainly regardless of the infinite particularizations of it. It is still that one divine pattern, one divine template, perfect, whole, and complete, and it is still present in creating each one. And anyone can become more aware of this divine ideal and become aware of that divine perfect pattern. And in this awareness, experience more of what it is. And so perfection, wholeness, and completeness can take infinite forms, infinite shapes, and express itself in infinite different varieties. And yet, it is still that which the divine is knowing itself to be. This is true of the form for each one, the form for each cat, the form for each dog, the form for each typewriter. It is also the truth of love can take infinite form, and life, as well as joy, harmony, perfect right order, divine right action. And so it is this one infinite mind, this one divine creator that is knowing itself as perfect, whole, and complete continuously, with no break, with no interruption, continuously and always. And the expression is this great and glorious universe and everything in it. This universe is perfectly balanced, in perfect harmony. It is in such order, it's such an intelligent structuring that the activity of it is always beyond clockwork in accuracy. This is the activity of this one mind with its one knowing of itself expressing in a multitudinous variety. And each one is a part of that and is equal to it. And in being a particular expression, no one is in any way separated from that perfect pattern. That no matter what one may look like or have done with this perfect pattern, that perfect pattern is still there, and each one still always has access to it. And when that existence of the perfect pattern is recognized in the awareness of each one and anyone and everyone, more of that pattern manifests. Indeed, the presence of that perfect pattern and the presence of God and of love is given itself evidence. And so each one is now accepting more evidence of the presence of God, the all-good. Each one is now accepting more evidence of the presence of love. Each one is accepting more evidence of the harmonious activity of love and life's perfect expression, so that each one is experiencing greater health and wholeness, as well as a more successful and easier experience of living, of interacting on this planet, with everything working perfectly, with being divinely guided in a harmonious way, a happier way of interacting with those around them. Divine guidance that is aware of all that is desired within each one's heart, as well as all that is required or even all that is believed to be needed. This divine mind that knows all this is a loving giver of itself, and it is this loving presence, good pleasure, to give to each one the fulfillment of that which is desired, the provision of that which is required, and the evidence that this God loves each one and even brings to each one all that each one believes they need, so that each one has the evidence of being loved, being cared about, and being paid attention to. And with this gift of divine love, each one is accepting that as present within themselves, and is a more wide open channel of receiving this divine love and of accepting it and allowing it to be enjoyed by themselves, and to so accept this divine goodness that each one is more able to cooperate with this goodness and to make way for this goodness, and to accept it with no guilt, with no shame, with no belief that it's a sin and one does an all false human measurements of worthiness, or I didn't earn it. All of those restrictive or conditional reasons for not accepting good come up by the human race are all erased, vanished, and gone. Each one simply accepts the gifts that spring from the divine knowing itself as perfect, whole, and complete in human expression. Each one accepts the gifts. Perfect operation, perfect functioning, glorious health, vital, dynamic experiencer of living, of loving relationships, of harmony here, there, and everywhere, and of a successful expression of one's God-given talents and abilities, God-given gifts. And in all this, each one is delighting in living this life and delighting in knowing, accepting, and enjoying the truth that each one, that he or she is God's most beloved one. And so each one reacts and lets God, this divine loving presence, do what God does. Love its creation and bestow upon it all of its support, all of its blessings, all of its goodness, all of its great ideas, all of its perfection, wholeness, and completeness, and all the good that goes with it. This is the truth. I am grateful this is the truth. I release this word to that loving law of God's, knowing it's done, and so it is. And that's the way it is. And so let's take this moment and get clear about what we are opening to. Because that which we open to, we do receive. And so checking in with your heart, whatever that is, allow the possibility that you can receive the fulfillment of that which is in your heart. Maybe you can receive it. Why not? Here, now. And so open to whatever that is, and then let God do what God does.
I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. I am opening, my heart is ready to receive.
All right, so I get to welcome you this morning. Hello out there. Yes, I am Karen Kushner, and I have been senior minister, pastor, spiritual leader here for 25 years. How'd that happen? I just keep doing what I'm guided to do, and because of this teaching, my life just keeps getting better and better. Years ago, when I entered into the advanced class of practitioner training, we had to go around the room and stand up. Why are we taking this class? And at that time, I connected with my heart, and I said, I want to be the living, loving, walking, talking demonstration of this teaching. I had no plans on becoming a minister, and in fact, I didn't want to. And in fact, when that divine idea first came to me, I'm like, no, go away, go away. And it came back a couple times, and I knew enough to accept that it's equivalent or better. So we've been focusing on clarity, and let's get clear about that. We feel a desire in our hearts, right? Can't get away from them. They're divinely placed there. Why? Because Spirit wants to grow in expressing itself as us. So it gives us a desire. Otherwise, we would sit on our tush and not move. So in order to get up, we get hungry. And so we get up. All divinely orchestrated in us to get us to grow, to move, and to be a greater expression. Now, as human beings, we feel a desire maybe for more love, or for, I want to express myself. I remember when I first came to this teaching, I wanted to be more creative. I wanted to be creative. I was a banker. Where's creativity in that? I was just adding up numbers and stuff. And so we come up with, as human beings, our best idea of a form that we think will satisfy our heart. So I wanted to be more creative, so I said, I want to be an actress. And I remember I went to my spiritual teacher, Dr. Stuart Grayson, and I had him treat for me to be an actress. And the day before, I was like, tomorrow I'm going to see this guy. He's like a magician. But I'm a banker right now, but I'm going to see him, and then I'm going to be an actress. Like overnight. Woo! That's what I thought. So I went into him, and I sat down, and I told him I wanted to be an actress. And he's like, well, what are you going to do for money? And I'm like, what the heck? Don't you believe what you're teaching? It's going to be fully provided for. You know, that's what you teach. I believe you. What's the matter with you? And whatever. And he's like, you know, he asked me a couple more questions. He said a couple things. Who knows what he said? I don't remember it. But he did the treatment. And I'm like, yes. And I woke up the next day, and I was a banker. And what happened? Well, over the next 5 years, I began taking steps to become an actress, and I did. I mean, one thing I had to discover about myself and learn was I was a lousy actress. So I had to take classes and become better. I didn't know that at the time, but I did. And so my idea was that I wanted to be creative, and actress was the best form. That was something in the theater, something in the arts. That's a creative person. I had to be that creative person in the arts in order to know I'm creative. But as I kept studying in this teaching, I realized the importance of saying it's equivalent or better. I am now expressing myself as an actress. It's equivalent or better. Because eventually I became a little tired or bored or just done with being an actress. And I realized as the subsequent decades followed that I was much more interested in creating my life. And now I'm fulfilled. I had a whole lot of fun being an actress, but to believe and know that I am as creative as the divine is was bigger than just being an actress saying lines that someone else had written. Every line I say is a whole creative thing. So it's equivalent or better. If you've got yourself attached to a particular form or a particular job or a particular way it's got to happen, if you're outlining, like, I want all the money to buy a house, but I don't want it to come from the bank, and I don't want it to come from my parents. I want it to just materialize in my, world somehow. That's too many details that are put there by us at the level of our belief and understanding from where we sit. But the divine is infinite, and it knows better ways to get our good to us to fulfill that which is in our heart, right? Because the divine put the desire in our heart, it knows how to fulfill it in a way where I don't have to be an actress to know I am creative. I don't have to do a thing to know I am creative. That's gold. That's what I wanted. That's what I got. And being an actress was a little piece of it, but no, it's equivalent or better. So yeah, when I got that idea to be a minister, right away I said, yes, I am now expressing myself as a minister. It's equivalent or better. And I really meant it's equivalent or better, because who the heck wants this job? And here I am. So that's just a little taste of the clarity I've experienced. We have lots to go here. John Heron is our practitioner of the day. Reverend Rich Volk here is our musician. And I have a couple of announcements. Number one, big announcement, Susan Neat, our evening inspiration facilitator for the past several years during all this stay-at-home stuff, that has ended. There is no Tuesday or Wednesday evening inspiration for the next 10 weeks or so, because beginning this Tuesday, she is teaching a certificated course. It's the basic course in the Science of Mind called Foundations of the Science of Mind. And so that will be going for 10 Tuesday evenings via Zoom from 7 p.m. to 8:45 p.m. There is a charge for it. However, if you have a difficulty in paying that, talk with her. If you're not sure whether you should be in the class or not, if you need clarity, talk to her about that. But it is going to be a phenomenal class. You will learn how to do spiritual mind treatment. And you'll even be taught how to do treatment for a particular good that you desire to experience. So to get more details, I believe somewhere on our Facebook page, we've got that announcement, but you can also go to our website, cslprinceton.org. There, it's right at the top, Foundations of the Science of Mind, and you can also leave a prayer request there if you'd like one of our practitioners to do spiritual mind treatment work for you this week. Haven't gotten any for a long time, guys, and you would think you had no desires planted in your heart by the divine. But anyway, that's all what's going on. So I am complete in welcoming you. Welcome, 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 Reverend Rich. Take us away.
I surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love. I surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love. I surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm John Herron. I'm a practitioner here at CSL Princeton. And I have a story to tell you. Thinking of all that's going on around us in the world today, always going on around us, but really in our face lately. There's a story I would like to tell. And it's about a little girl who lived in a village very, very far away from here. She was about 8 or 10 years old. And she was a peculiar little girl. She would get up every morning very early and go out into the fields around the village where she lived and watch the sun come up. It was a moment of total peace for her, and she loved it. And she did it every morning. And then she would come back feeling all this peace, come back to the village, and she would see the farmers hitching the horses to the wagons and making all the noise, the horse whinnying, and the farmer's wife carrying the pails out to milk the cows and all the noise. And she would get back home, and her mother would be yelling at her brother and sister to get up, and her brother and sister would be fighting with each other, and her grandmother would be in the kitchen bringing out the pots to cook the meals for the day, and all this noise going on. And then she would go to school, and the teacher would be going blah, 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 and the other kids would be fighting, and all this was going on. And she's saying, why can't I have peace? Why are people so noisy? And so as the days went by, she found she was getting really annoyed, because she would go out in the field every morning, total peace. And then she'd come back, and all this noise in the world around her. And she started getting really annoyed at it. And as she got a little older, she got an attitude. why don't these people know how to be peaceful? And she started being a brat, a real brat, and annoying everybody. And one day she had a big fight with her mother for making all the noise, and her mother grabbed her by the hand and said, "You have been taken over by some kind of demon. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to take you to the wise woman in the village near here, and she's going to exorcise this demon, because I can't take it anymore." And so the mother dragged her by the hand over to the next village, and they found themselves on the edge of the village in front of a hut. And the mother said, "You stay here." She went into the hut and then came out and took the girl and pushed her into the hut. The little girl went inside. It was very dark. At first she couldn't see anything. And then she saw that in a corner of the hut, there was a very old woman making tea, standing with her back to the little girl. So the little girl started telling the story. "They think I am taken over by a demon, but I just can't take it. People don't find peace. They make all this noise." And after a few minutes, the old woman turned around and said, "Would you like a cup of tea?" She said, "Weren't you listening to me? I'm here because I want to learn about peace." "Oh, well, that's a question for the gods. That's not a question for me." The little girl said, "What do you mean it's a question for the gods? How am I supposed to talk to the gods?" "Oh, so you want to learn how to talk to the gods? Okay, just wait a minute." And the little old woman went to a corner of her hut and pulled out a piece of parchment paper, and then went to the place where last night's fire was, all the ashes were there, and took up a piece of charcoal and drew something on the paper and gave it to the little girl. And the girl said, "What's this?" And the old woman said, "That's a map. If you follow this map, you will come to the place where you can hear the voice of the gods. And they'll teach you what you want if you listen." And so the little girl said, "Yeah, but I don't know where this is." And the old woman said, "Look, right outside this hut, the path starts. And it will be totally safe because it's the gods you're going to talk to. Just follow all the landmarks on this little map that I drew for you, and you'll come to the place." So, next morning, and the old woman said, "One further thing, you have to get there before sunup. You'll have to get there very early in the morning." And so the next morning, the little girl got up even earlier than she usually does. And she went to the village, and she started on the path with the map in front of her. And sure enough, all the landmarks that the old woman had drawn were there on the map. And she came to the end of the path, and there was a jungle. And she couldn't see. How do you get into the jungle? She could hear, like, animals moving around and birds and the rustle of the leaves and all this kind of stuff. But she didn't know what to do next. And suddenly she noticed that there was like a little path into the jungle. You barely notice it. So she said, the old woman said it was going to be safe because she was going to talk to the gods. And so she went in to the jungle. And it was dark, and there were noises, and there was all this going on. And suddenly she came to a clearing in the jungle. And in this clearing was a tree, an old, gnarled, bent tree that looked like it had been there since the beginning of living things on the earth. And it had branches, thick, long branches, and hanging from one of the branches was this piece of metal, all dirty, all covered over with ages of dirt, but she could see that there were like letters on it. And this piece of metal looked like it had been spewed out by the volcanoes that created the earth in the beginning, just hanging there from the branch. Well, what am I supposed to do now? I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. The map doesn't tell me what to do. So she walked around the clearing, and she noticed in a corner, buried in the earth, was a huge boulder. And it had a big crack in it. And so she walked over and looked, and there was a branch in the crack. And it was carved with the same lettering that was on that piece of metal that was hanging from the branch. Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but okay, let me try something. She picked up the branch, and it was pretty heavy, but just the right weight for her to be able to pick it up. And she said, okay, what if I struck that piece of metal like a gong with this branch? And so she leaned back and she turned and hit the gong, and it made the most horrible noise. And it vibrated in such a way that her whole body and her mind and her ears and everything in her started vibrating. And it was a terrible sound. And she said, wait a minute, I came here for peace, and all I'm getting is this noise. And she ran all the way back down the path to the woman's hut and said, what did you tell me to do? I came here for peace. And the old woman said, no, you came here to hear the voice of the gods. You go back tomorrow morning and you strike that gong and you listen. And you go back every morning for the next month until you hear the voice of the gods. And so the next morning she got up really early because she had to be there before sunrise. And she got there and she picked up the branch and she hit the gong. And sure enough, it made that awful sound. But she listened. And she managed to just stay in this awful sound and this awful vibration in her body. And she started to notice that as the vibration died away, she started feeling a little peaceful. And she listened until it died away. She couldn't hear the voice of the gods or anything, but she noticed that it was very quiet and peaceful. And so she walked back over the path, back home, and of course, as soon as she got back, there was the farmer with his horse, and there was the farmer's wife with her pails, and all the noise was still going on, and soon enough she was bothered again. But every morning, she went back and struck the gong. And by the end of the first week, because she was listening, she started to notice that when the gong vibrated, there were other sort of sounds in it. And if she listened carefully, she would hear different pitches and different tones. And as the vibration died down, they would change. And she got really fascinated with that. And in the second week, she found out that she was starting to look forward every morning to going and striking this gong and listening to all the sounds that came out of the gong. And around the middle of that second week, she was walking home after this experience, feeling pretty calm and peaceful. And she began to think, well, where does that sound come from? When I get there, it's really peaceful. When I leave, it's really peaceful. So when I strike the gong, I make it vibrate. If the only thing that's there before is the peace, and the only thing that's there after is the peace, then it's the peace that's vibrating that makes the sound. Sometimes it's vibrating and sometimes it's not, but it's still the peace. New thought. And she walked all the way home with this thought and sort of stayed in her mind, even though she got annoyed when the teacher was going blah, 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 and all her friends at school were making a lot of noise. That thought wouldn't go away. And then in the third week, she was really looking forward to this experience every day of hearing. It was the peace that was vibrating, and then it wasn't. And she started to notice as she went through her day, all those things that used to bother her, she started realizing that it was the peace that was vibrating and was always there, sometimes vibrating, sometimes not. And then by the end of that third week, she started realizing she had an experience in the day that one of her schoolmates did something that got her really angry. And she went, wait a minute. So it's the peace that's always present, sometimes vibrating, sometimes not. But I'm the one who's striking the gong. I'm the one who's getting annoyed and making it vibrate and then complaining about the vibration. Well, this is my whole life. I keep striking the gong, making it vibrate, and getting annoyed at the vibration. And the annoyance makes me strike it even harder. And so, by the end of the third week, her life started to change. Because everywhere she went, she had this realization that there was nothing present other than the peace, sometimes vibrating, sometimes not. And so in the final week of the month, she would go back every day. She would arrive with the peace. She would hit the gong. The sound would go off, and she would just be filled with this sense that there was nothing but the peace present, sometimes vibrating, sometimes not. And she also noticed that when she would get there in the morning, sometimes there would be a slight vibration. It was like the natural vibration of the gong. Maybe an animal jumped on it, maybe a branch brushed against it, or the wind made it move. Oh, so the world sometimes vibrates by itself, and sometimes not. And I don't have to add to the vibration. I can just let the peace express itself, sometimes vibrating, sometimes not. And so, at the end of the month, filled with this sense of peace, her whole world had changed. And she also noticed that everybody's response to her was also changing. And on the last day, she went back to the hut of the old woman. And she arrived there, and she expected to find the old woman making tea, as she did every morning. But the old woman was in bed. And she said, "What's the matter?" And the old woman said, "I think my time is come. I'm so weak I can't even get up. Would you make a cup of tea for me?" And so the little girl started making a cup of tea. And the old woman said, "I can see from your face that the gods have told you the secret, that the gods have spoken to you." And the little girl turned and smiled to her and said, "Yes, yes, yes." And the little girl went back to making a cup of tea. And just at that moment, a man burst into the hut and said, "Oh, wise woman, you have to help me. My wife will not stop complaining about everything in my life. I just don't know what to do. She's been overtaken by some kind of demon." And the old woman said, "No, my time has come. I'm finished. But you might ask this young woman here, because I think she could tell you how to exorcise this demon." And so the young girl told the man her story, and the man went away really satisfied. And when he left, the old woman said, "My time is here. I will be leaving this plane, but it's now yours to take over. You can take this hut. You can live here. You know the secret of the gods, and you will be the wise woman of this village now." So that's the story. And the question it brings to my mind all the time is, where in my life am I hitting the gong, making it vibrate, and complaining about the vibration? Where are we doing that? This teaching teaches us that it's peace. God is peace, the presence of peace, always present. It is who and what we are. It's why we're here and we listen and we study, right? But where in our lives do we keep striking the gong, making the noise, reading the news, watching television, watching Law and Order, doing all these things, and then we complain about all the noise in our lives? Will we make the choice to let the natural vibration go on, but stop banging the gong and then complaining about it? So, with that in mind, I will do a spiritual mind treatment. So this word is for all those who bang the gong and complain about it. It is for each one present here today, for each one watching virtually, or anyone who will listen to this message. Knowing that there is only peace. That is what is present in, as, and through the universe. The universe is made of peace. And since this is so, and knowing that God is all, then I know that each one is that peace. Sometimes vibrating, sometimes not. And so I know this truth now, that each one is knowing the peace. Each one is knowing that each one is made of this peace, that this peace is fully present right here, right now, at every moment in life. And I know that each one is now discovering this peace in their lives. And each one is making the choice to recognize this peace, to stop complaining about it, and realizing that peace is fully present in every aspect of life, every morning, every afternoon, every evening. What is present is peace. And each one is experiencing and expressing this divine peace in their lives. With great gratitude for this truth, I release this to the law. It is done. It is what is, and so it is.
So it is.
How many roads must a man walk down before they call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? How many times must a cannonball fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the seas? And how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? And how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? How many years must one man have before he can hear people cry? And how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Wow.
Lots of clarity going on here today. Be careful what you ask for. It's blowing in the wind. Yeah, it's in the gong. So our topic today is something about loving ourselves, clarity about that, and accepting that there's other people in the world. making all that noise, right? Ernest Holmes, in these talks that he gave in the 1950s, which were published in the Holmes Papers, Volume 3, Ideas of Power, I think this entire set of talks, all he talks about is love. And these other people, and loving them, how to love yourself, and being the science of mind. And as John has pointed out to us, it all comes from us, from within. Ernest Holmes says, he refers to Ralph Waldo Emerson, that God made us inlets, and we have to make ourselves outlets. So the divine creator has created each one of us and given to us this gift of life. First of all, just the fact that we're here, we didn't do it. The divine created an object to give its life to give its love to give this universe to give the use of its mind, of its power to create, of its sense of self, its image and likeness. And that's us. That's who we are. That's how we've been created, why we've been created. And it is ours to decide how much of this that we've been given we give out. We have to create ourselves as the outlet. All this good, all this wisdom, all these answers, all this truth, it's all being given to us, but it's up to us to discover how to get it out of ourselves, how to release it from ourselves. And one of the things that will block the expression of all that we've been given is no. That word not. I am not loved. I am not creative. I am not good enough. That those negative beliefs about ourselves block ourselves from giving out what we have been given. Ernest Holmes, in this book, I just have so many chapters, but he says, there is a repression in us. The great creative urge has been sat upon or hasn't found fulfillment, and so it raises all kinds of troubles for us. That great creative urge has been given to us. We can feel it. I want potato chips, right? Well, I want the potato chips because the great creative urge in me to express and give that which I have been given isn't finding an outlet through me right now for various reasons I have. But that great creative urge has got to get expressed. And so, right, it inverts itself and it comes out as I want to drink, I want potato chips, I want to be left alone, or complaining, or, all these negative ways that we experience living come from some sort of repression of that great creative urge to give itself as us, right? The divine gives all of itself, and that urge to give all of itself lives in us, and wherever we believe we can't, we're repressed, and it builds up like a pressure cooker and then pops out somewhere. I know it well. Dr. Ernest Holmes says, it is said that 85% of all diseases are because of this. By doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, people who have made a study of it. And so he knows in his conversation with the gods, with that divinity, that we want to be happy, we are born to be happy, we ought to be happy, we should be happy. But our nature is such that each one of us is an individual creative center in a universal law of wholeness and completion. In other words, we're the center and we have the choice. with Tessera Kanta, the clarity that I have been claiming, I thought I'd be clear in so many other ways than the ways I'm getting clear. And it seems like all the clarity that I'm getting is how I am in the way of my good. And how I've got beliefs, but also attitudes and behaviors that I'm stumbling around on. And it hurts. And so I'm getting clear how I've been hurting myself because I want to be happy. I was born to be happy. I have a right to be happy. I ought to be happy. I should be happy. Ernest Holmes said it, right? And I'm not completely, and I can see where I am not is where I am not being an outlet. I've got my reasons, but they're no excuse. It's up to us. We are creative beings. It is up to us to figure out a way for ourselves to be an outlet. It's up to us to figure out how to creatively live in a way that we are happy. We have to do it. We're all individually created. The divine can't say, now you're all going to be happy this way, because it created us all individual, different. So the way that the divine is guiding me to be happy, no one else would be happy that way. And so it's up to us to discover that way. I was talking to a woman who was giving me all this information about her understanding of autism. She had recently been diagnosed herself, and what I thought I heard her saying was that each person who is created this particular way needs to find a way to be themselves. There's no set answer, one answer fits all, that each one is unique and needs a unique approach. And that is our job to figure out. I am a unique being, never seen before. I see how other people have seemed to make themselves happy. How can I make myself happy? And so it is an act of self-love to pay attention to yourself so much and spending time and energy so that you can creatively live your life in a happy way. It's yours to figure out, not your parents, not your loved one, not your spouse, not all your friends, not even the divine. It's ours. It's our job. The divine created us perfect, whole, and complete. I gave you life, I gave you a mind, I gave you a power to create anything. What more do you want? I want answers, I want guidance. Well, the guidance is, right? Stop banging the gong. It's there. But the guidance is, the divine has already given us the guidance. It's the desires in our heart. That's the guidance. But it created the human race in this world for us all to play here. Like using this world that I've given you and the technology and the people that are all around, and there's enough of them around for you to have anything. Out of all of these building blocks, all these materials that are in your little personal playground, how can you put it all in an arrangement so that you can be expressing your uniqueness? And your sand creation is going to be unlike anyone else's. It's yours. Your painting will be unlike anyone else's because it's yours. And so loving ourselves is more than feeling the love of yourself. And that's a great spiritual practice to which I have done, spending 5 minutes every day. I would sit down and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to practice love of myself for 5 minutes. I would set the timer on the microwave oven, because who wants to love yourself more than 5 minutes? And, I would like just do it consciously, deliberately. Okay, I love my head, I love my hair, I love my eyes, I love my cheeks, I love my nose, I love my mouth. And, I'd go through my whole body and it wouldn't take a full 5 minutes. I love my house and I love my floor and and as I kept consciously, deliberately declaring, I love this, I love that, I love this, it would expand out into the world. And I love this store, and I love this person, and I love this, and I love this. And Dr. Ernest Holmes, he says very, very often in these lectures that he would spend 15 minutes every day expanding the love within him to include everyone, everywhere. And that's an activity. When the alarm goes off, I go, I love my life completely. Boom, I'm done. Done. Whew. That's enough love for me. Ernest Holmes could do 15 minutes every day. He says that we have got to figure ourselves out. The love of the divine has been given to us, and we have to figure out how can we feel that love in us? How can we use that love in us? How can I know that this love that I am loved? He says elsewhere, you are plenty good enough because God made you. Instead of asking, am I good enough? Think, is my thinking constructive enough? That means, am I creatively thinking about how can I, given the givens I got, express me? What is the best thing I can do with this thing that I am? Do I love enough? Do I give enough? Am I happy enough? These are the evaluations that are spiritual, not the question, am I good enough? I don't feel worthy. I don't feel deserving. It's irrelevant whether you deserve it or are worthy of it or enough. You are it. This is it. God made us the way that we are. And he says, I hope I have this here. Oh, it's too good. The greatest thing that can happen to any living soul is finally to learn to take him or herself for better or worse. To say, I am this, that I am, good, bad, or indifferent. From this point, I must go forward. This is what I got. It's God's fault that this is what I got. But now what can I do with this material? He also goes on, referring to other people. He says, very, very few people have ever had as much love as I have had. And I love people, good, bad, and indifferent, because we are all different anyway. We're all partly good, and we're all partly, not bad, but just a little loose, here and there, this way and that way. And that's all right. So everyone is as the divine has made them, and that's who we are. And now we create a life where we can be ourselves. I know that desire within us, and he talks about that this urge within us, that we want to be loved, we want to be included, we want to belong, and it's not for the world to do that. If we feel like we don't fit in where we are, then we want to create a community, a world, a group where we do belong. And now with the internet the way it is, all you have to do is start a meetup group. Anyone interested in, talking about ribbons? Here's my group. You'll find them. because the divine has created us to enjoy the community of others, enjoy others. When we are giving who we are, when we are being who we are, when we're saying who we are, then they can find us. We don't have to find them. We can advertise now. We can find them. So to love ourselves in relationships with other people requires us to, first and foremost, always think about ourselves. Being that inlet of the divine. I've been given all this, including, right, that inlet, including this urge. Now, how? Asking the question, how can this urge in me get fulfilled in my world? And it will involve other people, but you don't have to make them involved. When you acknowledge what is in your heart and pay attention to yourself, love yourself enough to give your own self that attention, that you give your newborn grandchild, right? All the attention our little babies get. To give yourself that much attention is self-love. And you might be tired, you might be hungry, you might even be in some sort of discomfort or pain or whatever, but if your baby is crying, you set that aside to give the baby what it wants, to give the child what it needs. And we want to so what I'm saying is, love doesn't require us to be feeling the love. God does what God does. And we want to get to that point where we do what we do. And in loving ourselves, it's not just that feeling of loving yourself, but it's also the activities, the actions of taking care of yourself. And in taking care of yourself, it requires us to listen to ourselves, listen to our heart, and then ask of the divine guidance for, like this, not I'm not worthy, please make me worthy, God, but how can I satisfy this urge to give of myself in this world? Give me an idea. We always will get an answer. Well, it wasn't what I thought. Like I was treating right to express myself in a greater way, to love my life completely, and then I got this idea to become a minister. I'm like, oh, no way. Want nothing to do with that. But the idea kept coming, and I'm like, all right, it's equivalent or better. Well, the idea kept coming. Here I am. In that journey, from the moment I said, okay, this idea, it's equivalent or better, my life consistently, continuously improved. And a whole lot of changes I had to make to allow myself to be the outlet of what God has been given to me. So we are the blockage, the noise. We are that which stands in our way of being happy, of being healthy, of being prosperous. I saw a good friend of mine this past week, and financial numbers were mentioned. Let me just say that. And I said a number in my world that I thought was just so much. And my friend said, that? How about 10 times that? Which was an experience, that level in his world. And as I drove home, I just kept thinking, 10 times that? 10 times that. We were talking about how much taxes we have to pay. So I was putting out a number like 5,000, and he's like, I'd be happy with 5,000. Try 50,000. And I'm like, 50,000? 50? You're my friend. Where the heck are you getting that money? You're my friend. Like a truck's like, where are you getting that money? I didn't ask that question, but I wanted to know, where are you getting that money? $50,000 in taxes? What the heck? I can barely handle $5,000 in taxes. But maybe I better think about this. Because I am the one who defines my financial situation. And apparently there are people in my life who are defining it 10 times a level than I ever know. And I know there's other people who are defining it 10 times less than what I have. And here I am, and believe it or not, the one guidance I got as I drove home with this question was, stop wasting what you are being given. I was like, whoa, my time, my energy, yeah, my money. Stop wasting it. Stop wasting what you are given. When you love yourself, it's not that you give yourself the best. It's that you wisely use what you've been given. Right? A whole lot of my friends and I were also talking about all the china and the crystal that people used to receive for weddings, which apparently they don't get anymore because nobody's interested in that stuff anymore. And any pattern that you have, it's all on eBay and you can buy it all. And we were talking about that. And I remember some 30, 40 years ago having my china and my crystal all being saved to be used when there's company. And I thought, why are they so special? Let's use it now for me. They all were given to me. Use the best. And so my little peanut butter and jelly sandwich, yeah, it would be on Lenox. Why not? And if I want more, if I wreck it, I can buy some on eBay now. No problem. Cats drink out of Waterford Crystal. Why not? Loving yourself is using what you have been given by the divine in a wise and in the most creative way that you can imagine. And see, the good news, I mean, the gifts that we've been given include the ideas for how to express this stuff, express that uniqueness that you are. When you ask the question, how can I be more creative? How can I have more friends? How can I enjoy myself? How can I express myself in a greater way? How can I love more? How can I love more? Bring me some people for me to love. And the divine, in giving us all that we have, gives us more because we're using what we have been given. But if we don't use what we've been given to start with, why give you more? You're not going to appreciate it. It's not going to make you happy. It'll be wasted. So we use all that we have been given. This is love. And then relationships just reflect this to us. Receiving all that is divine, we want to express it. We get to express it in relationships. That's what we need them there for. The divine created us to be in relationship with us. I am that I am, that's you. If we weren't here, the divine's expression wouldn't happen. And so the divine needs to give all that it is to us, to each one of us, and then we're in the image and likeness. It's for us to give to the world, to others, to be an outlet. And we have to figure out how to do it. Okay, so you get the point, right? Right? I see someone out there, Margit goes, yes. Okay, good. So we have to be this outlet. So let's move forward in our service. Reverend Rich, are you ready to play something?
I am.
Okay, he's got something good. All right, so think about this, and then when I come back, Reverend Rich's inspiring song, we'll all be thinking about this, and when I come back, I'll do a spiritual mind treatment that we use the good that we've been receiving, and then we get more. Reverend Rich.
Give what you got.
As I walk through this wicked world, searching for light in the darkness of insanity, I ask myself, is all hope lost? Is there only pain and hatred and misery? And each time I feel like this inside, there's one thing I want to know. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? As I walk on through troubled times, my spirit gets so downhearted sometimes. So where are the strong? And who are the trusted? And where is the harmony? Sweet harmony. Each time I feel it slipping away, just makes me wanna cry. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? We are the strong, yes, and we are the trusted. And there is plenty of harmony, sweet harmony. Each time I feel it slipping away, just makes me wanna cry. There's nothing funny about peace, love, and understanding. Nothing funny about peace, love, and understanding. There's nothing funny about peace, love, and understanding. I brought it back.
Yes. Whew. All right. So this word is being spoken for each one. This one divine loving creator is creating each one and giving to each one all of its love, all of its intelligence, wisdom, and guidance, all of its energy, vitality, all of its perfect patterns, all of the ideas, and is giving to each one this entire universe and everyone in it. It is giving the gift of life to each one with all that is required to express it in a unique and wonderful way. And each one is now taking these gifts of God and using them wisely, well, in a loving, appreciative way, giving the gifts that have been given, giving them to others, to this world, to people, in relationships, in relationship with everything, giving the gift of that own unique self that each one is, that cannot be given by anyone else. Each one is giving this gift. And in giving this gift, each one is given more to give of themselves. It multiplies. Each one is wise, wealthy, healthy, happy, and filled with gratitude for this gift of a life, and honored to be giving this gift that has been given, to give this gift of themselves to the world. I am grateful this is so. I release this word to the law because everything I said the law has already done. It's done, and so it is. Take us away.
While I run this race, guide my feet. While I walk this path, guide my feet. While I walk this path, 'cause I don't want to walk this path alone. I'm a child. While I walk this path, yeah, that I'm a child. While I walk this path, I'm a child. While I walk this path, 'cause I don't want to walk this path alone. Yeah, 'cause I don't want to walk this path in vain.
Amen.
Hallelujah. All right, so have a good walking of your path this week, and I'll see you next week. Hello, Arlene. Arlene wrote, I am a divine outputter. Okay, excellent. Deja, thank you so much. She's put our link to our website there for those who would like to contribute to our center. Hello, Clee, Margit, Robert, good to see you. And Deja, and I've said hello to everybody else. Okay, good. So I'll see you next week. Bye-bye, guys.